Guess you could say I'm a refugee of sorts. Not the kind you normally read about, fleeing conflict and violence, but one that is more unique to America these days than anybody readily wants to admit. Health issues ended my employment in California, and with it, the first affordable health insurance I'd had in 15 years. As they say, it was time to get the hell out of Dodge, or purgatory as the case may be. Turned out this town I stumbled upon is full of people who had to get the hell out of somewhere.
We seem to have an ever-growing homeless population.
So I started something new, monthly education.
I was in denial about being homeless for a while. Not like I didn't know what's happening, but it's like it wasn't really real.
I'm grateful that I have a place to live right now. However, it's not sheltered completely.
I never thought in a million years that I would actually need a place like Common Good. And then I found myself in that situation where if I don't have Common Good, I wouldn't survive, basically.
I'm sure that's going to get heavy. Thank you very much.
This community has a lot of need. Our children are in need, and we try to fulfill some of it.
Poor working families are accessing our food pantries. 1 in 4 kids are living in poverty. 1 in 4 kids are showing up to school hungry. People do seem to feel like they're responsible for their brothers. And they really feel like if they have something, they need to share it with those who don't.
We're all volunteers. Nobody gets paid.
You got 30 of these.
We're spending an awful lot of time and a lot of energy and a considerable amount of fun. But I see it paying off. It's slow, but it's paying off.
I think we're a compassionate community. We try to be. This is one of the most beautiful places in the world to live.
I think the food bank is doing everything that they can do. I think they do an amazing job, but I don't think the food bank in a small community that's only open 1 day a week is enough.
So in some ways, we're back to feeling a bit of angst over what the future may hold, more accurately, what it may deny. But I'm going to stick around. It's been a positive experiment of sorts for me, a community that for the most part acts like one.
We don't have sophisticated government-run social institutions or things. We just have people that like to help people feel good about it.
All right, everybody. That was the Common Good trailer. My name is Josh with Badger Creative, and we are doing a live session. So yeah, this is actually what the edit looks like. Couple of layers. We got, the way I like to organize this is we got the language on the bottom, so all the dialogue that's spoken on the bottom here. And then we lay our B-roll on top, and I use a third layer here to give us a second B-roll track. That way, if I ever want to do transitions or crossfades or effects, we go with that. Titles on another, and a color adjustment layer. So yeah, but first, before we get into it, I just want to again introduce myself. My name is Josh with Badger Creative. This is the Common Good documentary film. So let's just show you. I got 2 screens, but I can only show you one. But this is my website, MilwaukeeBadger.com. But that's not important right now. Right now, what I want to talk about is our Seed and Spark campaign. We are running a Seed and Spark fundraiser to help finish the film. We're just finished up with some editing costs. Here's our wish list. You can see what it's going to go to: post-production and editing, which is basically cutting down all the material and getting it to a fine cut where it's actually a watchable film. And then we dedicated some of that money to go to sound, sound design, and music. And then finally, color correction, which just adds a good polish to the film, get that color looking right, and probably doing like graphics and titles and such. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Thank you to everybody who's already supported. That is awesome. We thank you. And this Seed and Spark isn't just us. There's tons of other great projects out here and independent filmmakers who are funding themselves through contributions, through incentives. As you can see, we also offer incentives. And that's just kind of how it works. So it's kind of like a trade. It's more like you're buying something rather than just donating money. So don't think of it as a donation. Think of it as a contribution or a pledge. And in return, we do offer you incentives. So the social media shout out, $10. Get a copy of the film for $25. That's digital. We got a movie poster at the $50. $100, you get a movie credit. And our signed book by our writer, Andy, at the $250 level, and then an executive producer credit at the $500 level. This is, that's a very generous donation, which is why we wanted to give a proper credit. So yeah, and all of these stack on top of each other except for the book. So we have limited quantities of books, but yeah, so let's just show you, you can follow here. Once you sign in, you don't have to actually create an account to make a pledge. So if you just feel like skipping over the sign-in process, you can. But the follows do get us extra resources. So we have a goal that we need to reach, or that we would like to reach, that would allow Seed and Spark to actually give us extra resources to help distribute the film and get feedback on the film from other film professionals. So it's just a great thing for us to get as many followers as possible. So yeah, from there, we could actually, let's take a look at this trailer. This one is Sandra, the director, who we had come over, and we sat down and chatted for a couple hours, and we put together some ideas about what the film is going to be about. And so we put together this little trailer so that you can hear all that she has to say. So let's just give it a watch. After it loads, I guess.
My name is Sandra. I used to be a photographer until 2011. This is when I shifted into making films, little films, little documentaries to start with. So The Common Good is my first long feature.
What do you think of our beautiful little corner of the world? I think it's great, isn't it awesome?
A friend of mine who is a writer moved into that area and started to volunteer in this food bank named The Common Good. I witnessed food insecurity around the world because I used to live in third world countries or developing countries. To see such trends coming back into a country like United States, which has so much, I think we need to talk about that. Or they have to understand the consequences of food insecurity on the long term.
This is one of the best things I've decided to do in a long time. Volunteer.
This movie is there to remove the stigma about poverty and homelessness and insecurity, and show that these people share exactly the same goals and dreams that we do to find stability and happiness. And they're not different than us. They just had bad luck, bad circumstances, and this could happen to any of us.
All right. So that was Sandra. As you can see, she kind of has her thoughts. I think one of the great things about our collaboration is that we have very the same mindset approaching this project. It's not so much as sitting here and feeding you all this information about food crises and food waste, and we definitely want to highlight some of those topics, but there are already some documentaries out there, and we're not trying to mimic anything. Really what we're trying to do with this film is express the human side of poverty and hunger, and show how this community is pulling itself together, and they're not solely relying on government stipends or donations or whatever they call them. But there is a common misconception that, these people are like homeless, ragtag, like kind of people, and they just are feeding off the system, which is not true, especially here in Port Orford. These people have suffered job losses, and it's a really small community, so you can only imagine when a business goes away that a lot of opportunity goes away, and a lot of families then start to struggle. I'm actually based here in Wisconsin, and we saw a similar thing happening in Janesville with GM leaving Janesville, and we saw a lot of people sink into poverty and lose their jobs, and a number of manufacturers that went out of business that weren't GM, but they were related to parts that sold to GM for their cars and whatnot. So this just happens, rural communities. I don't know if I don't want to say that they have it the worst, but it's definitely something that isn't focused on. A lot of people focus on big city poverty and cleaning up homelessness in the city, but we are forgetting that a large part of our country is still comprised of small cities like Port Orford. So yeah. So that's just a little bit about the film. If you guys have any questions or thoughts, definitely send them in the stream here, and I will be able to comment. It doesn't seem like it's auto-scrolling, so it's kind of a little problem for me. So I'm just going to kind of keep going back and forth and scrolling, and make sure I can get to your questions as soon as possible. So yeah. So basically, let's take you into the post-production room. It's a virtual room. Obviously, we don't work with film and tape any longer. It's all digital. So this is it. This is Premiere, Adobe Premiere. It's a virtual suite, like I said. But yeah, so basically what we did was, well, one of the things I guess I want to focus on first when it comes to editing. So this live session is supposed to be kind of like about behind the scenes, how we work, how we operate. Hope I don't bore you too much. I don't want to get too technical, but I do want to show you just a few things about how the post-production flow works, and you will begin to see how time-consuming it can become as an editor working through this. So I'm just kind of like show you a few things. Basically, the steps to building a project is to obviously start a new project. I'm not going to go through all that. If you really want like an Adobe tutorial, you can find it on YouTube or lynda.com or one of those other sites. There's tons of tutorials out there. So, but anyways, so yeah, one of the things that I highlight constantly with other editors is organization. Like, organization is so key when you're working with hundreds of hours of footage. My gosh, I can't even think of how much footage is in this folder right now, but I can take a guess. Let's see. We'll just go to the interview section, and okay, this one says master. So you see how I'm laying all this out? We got interviews, master. So this one, we just basically cut down. We just cut out all the questions. So Sandra asked questions in between each of, this is Sarah, who is one of the food distributors. You'll learn about her. Anyway, so yeah, basically we cut out her questions we just want to get her answers. So that's like our master don't edit kind of thing, so that we don't mess it up. You can see I'm already guilty of messing it up. So, but then we broke it down into food distribution. We got some history. This is specifically talking about the common good, poverty, disabilities, other personal stories, homelessness, about the community, and a future outlook. So you can kind of see a structure, right? It's talking about, it's kind of like a rough layout of our film. So we're defining what we are basically going to edit to. So the idea behind each scene. So for instance, this one is about food distribution. Let's see, let's open it up. So this is all her interview, just talking about food distribution, their network. Orca is a food distribution center who gets food deliveries from bigger corporations, Feeding America, other grocery stores who are trying to get rid of stock. And then they hold it in their big facility, which then gets distributed down to the common good, and the common good then distributes it to its recipients. So that's kind of pretty standard across the nation. There's always like Feeding America, then it goes down to a food bank, and then a food pantry. So food bank is distribution, Orca, Sarah, and food pantry is common good. I'll show you and see. Judy. Judy was the head of the common good for a number of years, and she's a big, oh geez, we're scrolling. She's a big character in our film. So yes, back to organization. Do not mess with the master. And what was my other question? My other question was, how long is this footage? Let's take a look. Old. I always put a Z when I'm done using a folder or something, or if I just want to keep it at the bottom, I put a Z in front of it. That's a little organization for you. So yeah, interviews, raw, version 1. So this is basically everything, every single interview on a timeline, and it actually is 11 hours. 11 hours. Imagine that. So that's 11 hours of footage in the first trip. That doesn't include the second trip. So we got our second trip, which is, I would say with these gaps, probably about 3 hours. So you got 11 hours and 3 hours, and that is 14 hours. So 14 hours of interview, and I have to watch that all. So raw interview. It's basically like I'm spending an entire trip with these folks. I've never met them in my life, but as an editor, it's an odd thing. You become very personal with characters, and you feel like you know them. And if you haven't seen our Facebook post, I actually posted, we are going back out to Port Orford to get a little bit more footage, just to tidy up the film, add some stuff, and then there's some developments in going forward there. So we have to go out there and finish capturing that. Yeah. So organization is key. As you can see, this is where we started. So like I said, I put Z's in front of everything. This is the original files folder. And yeah, we got 2 weeks worth of footage. I think if I strung it all out, we'd probably be looking at somewhere around 200 hours of video. So yeah, imagine watching 200 hours of video and cutting it down to 90 minutes. I know, crazy. But that's the life. That's what we do. And yeah, so we got our raw folders. We call it raw just because it's uncut, unfiltered. Don't even touch it. It basically looks like this. You see these little white tags. That means that's the start of the clip and the end of the clip. Yeah. So yeah, basically, keep your organization in order is so important, especially if you work with multiple editors. You know, if I had to pass this project, which I actually did, me and my other editor here, we shared this project and we did about half the work each. So I cut through half, he cut through half, and we got it down to basically our sequences into nice little sequences like this. So we got our B-roll and we got our interviews. We got a rough cuts folder. We got scenes. So this one is distribution. Excuse me, that was something I was working on a little bit earlier. We got graphics. So yeah, if I needed to pass this over to him, he should be able to read this and find exactly what he needs. If you have great organization, you know, it's workflow, people, workflow. Get it down. It's so important because I don't know how many projects, like, it took me a long time to get used to it, and but once I did and I got a grasp on my own workflow and my own mindset and thinking about others in case I had to pass this off, like, it really became really simple just to do it right up front. Don't like pull in all your assets and just, you know, just start slapping things together. Just make your folders right away, import right into those folders. I know maybe some of you aren't editors or probably never want to be editors, or I don't know, maybe this interests you, maybe it doesn't, but organization. I think organization in life in general is just a good thing. So organize, people, organize. Okay, so let's take a look here. Basically, this is where I keep everything. We got our picture and we got our timeline. I will show you. We're gonna get rid of some of these. I'm gonna take a look at this. I see some comments on here. Oh, Brian joined us. Brian, how are you? How's the overseas? You know, I really wish I could have two cameras, but Facebook Live didn't allow me to do it unless I have an alternate software. And because we kind of pieced this together really quickly, I didn't have time to test something like that. But maybe for next time, I'll try to have a camera on me. It's because I'm so used to having, like, seeing myself when I'm just talking to my screen right now, and it's really weird. If I had a screen to see myself, at least I could, like, talk to myself of myself. I don't know. I'm just being weird. Okay, so this is my first go at the film. So if you remember and watched, it's gorgeous weather out in Sri Lanka. Oh, gosh dang it. I wish it was gorgeous here, but and it must be late there. What time is it? And thank you for joining the broadcast. It's much appreciated. So yeah, if you recall, the trailer has a voiceover, and they recorded this voiceover with Andy, the writer, and we really wanted to utilize that voiceover. Part of our next trip is actually to there was some rewrites, so we want to re-record some of that stuff. But so there's going to be a little bit of voiceover that kind of helps carry the film, and then also just tied in with the interviews and some verite moments. If you don't know what verite is, it's kind of this sort of like realism, essentially. These real moments, these that happen in life. I could show you some. So let's see. I don't know, maybe some would consider this verite, but this is a coffee shop in Port Orford that was holding like a little community concert, which is really cool. So, all these people, this guy right here is actually, I saw him volunteering at the bank or pantry. I'm not sure about these other three. Maybe. Brian might know. Thank you, Fran. Yes, it is very important that we interview lots of people and get lots of perspective. Otherwise, the picture needs to be complete. We don't like to take sides. We don't want to be, we want to remain as objective as possible. So making sure that we talk to enough people to get the right amount of perspective. Yeah. So let's see. So yeah, this is kind of like a verite moment. We got a coffee shop concert we can listen to a little. Okay, so yeah, so something I like to point out right away is you see the camera moving. So part of my job is to either eliminate that stuff. Well, it actually is to eliminate that stuff, unless it's called for, unless we find it suitable to fit our picture and our flow. We might use it. That one right there, that example, I would probably cut that. And the way I would do that actually. Okay, so now getting back to it, what I would do in this instance would be either to overlay some other shots, like some other B-roll. So I would consider this music track, our voice track, and then I would use another shot. So like this, we got this group of people sitting around. I can take this. I don't want to mess up my audio, so we always make new layers for everything. So you can see I can zoom in a little. I have video track 1, 2, and 3, and audio track 1, 2, and 3. So I always try to keep it corresponding. So 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3. Sometimes it gets mixed up, but it's part of that organization that, I kind of talked about earlier. So let's get back to that. I'm going to take my shot with me. There are some techniques I should have used to just make this go quicker, but Whatever. Okay, so here we are back at our wide shot. And so we're going to listen. Okay, and that was pretty good. I got right to the point. So we want to cover up the zoom, but we don't want to lose the audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shot, pop it right there. And it's probably not where I want it, so I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit further. Play. Okay, and there's, you got to listen to kind of the rhythm. I'm listening to the rhythm of the song, so I'm actually going to cut to the song and not to where the shot gets messed up. I can worry about, if I need to cover more later. But for rhythmic sake, I'm going to cut to the music. So we play it back. Okay, there's a little move there, so I'm actually going to get rid of that. And there's a little blurb because I don't want that sound, so I'm just going to drag it all the way down, turn it off. Okay, so there's the zoom again, but I only put one shot in. I would actually put in multiple shots, which here, let's just do it. Let's just do it because we're having fun. This live stream is all about having fun. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Join, share, tell your friends we're live. This is behind the scenes right now. This is live, behind the scenes action. You don't get this a lot in movie making. So here you go. Wait, what was this shot? Actually, I should be making copies because I'm going to ruin things. Organization, people, organization. I actually don't need the audio, so I'm just going to option drag. That makes a copy. Same thing here. Option drag. I'm just going to mute this channel. Okay. Zooming back in. Now let's watch. Okay, so that was actually pretty good coverage. We almost hit it. I think maybe one more shot just to cover up. See, the camera is actually out of focus and a little shaky, and then it stabilizes and then gets into focus. So I could actually add one more shot and we can watch it again. The process of editing is a lot of watching and rewatching, and it can be tiring. I'm not gonna lie. Editing is one of those things that you kind of just it's a love-hate relationship. Like, I love editing. Like, I love getting down to the nitty-gritty and then having that final product come out just the way you intended it to. But it is a long journey when you're cutting a feature-length documentary, a feature-length film. So yeah, it's just, it can be a daunting task, and I'm not gonna lie about it. So that's why we want you to follow us and pledge loyalty. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, here's a nice alternate shot. That's cool. It's a little different song, so I don't think I'm gonna use that. So yeah, these scenes haven't really been cut down quite yet. Oh, here's a little shoe cap. Perfect. This option. Drag it. I'm sure there's faster ways of doing this, but whatever. Okay. So here we go. We got a little micro scene. Actually, I can blow it up for you. Pretty cool, right? Not bad. I could time this shot a little better if I wanted to, but I won't spend too much time unless I don't know. What do you guys think? What are you guys feeling right now? So yeah, let's go back over to the voiceover because that is really important. It's kind of driving our story. It's kind of like our transition, kind of using them as transitions, kind of setting up what you're about to hear next, or because we don't have Andy on film. Well, I shouldn't say film, on video, like an interview, like everybody else. We really have him just on his day-to-day operations, going to do pickups, going to do just driving and packing and helping the food bank operate. So we don't really have him on camera, which is okay. It would be nice. We're gonna get him when we go out to Port Orford. We're gonna get him. But so we got his voiceover. We got his voiceover to work with, and that's gonna kind of help drive the film. So, 9 minutes, 8 minutes and 46 seconds of voiceover is really not a lot of time when you're talking about a 90-minute film. So it's not like I'm, gonna narrate the entire film and you guys just gotta listen to Andy talk the entire time. No, we're gonna hear a lot of perspective from a lot of different people, and that way you guys can really get a sense of the type of people who face hunger. These are families, they have kids, they aren't, they're not rich, they're not, there's a lot of industry that has left town. They used to be a timber industry, which has since moved away, and they became a fishing industry, which we kind of talk about in the film a little bit. So we talk about job loss. We're going to talk about, industry leaving town. That's funny. Industry leaving town and how it has affected the commercial aspect of the community. So, because that's important. Like I said, when a community becomes so reliant on a single industry, and that industry goes away, it's almost like everything around it collapses. And this happens all the time in rural towns, and it's unfortunate. And it's not like these people chose this life to, they were timber people or fishermen, or they chose the profession, but I don't think they thought that it would ever leave, especially Oregon. I mean, they have they're plentiful in trees, and the timber industry is still there. It just happens to not be around that community any longer. So, so voiceover, fun stuff. We can hear it.
Guess you could say I'm a refugee of sorts. Not the kind you normally read about, fleeing conflict and violence, but one that is more unique to America these days than anybody readily wants to admit.
Sound familiar? It should if you watch the trailer. So it's kind of like a little sneak into the trailer. That's why I formulated the trailer to match how I thought that the final film would feel. So if you're interested, watch the trailer and you can kind of get a sense of the pacing and the topics, the issues, and what is going to happen throughout the length of the film. So, yeah, looks like we got any other joiners. Who's in here? Everybody say hi. I wish I could see you all. Like if this was just like a massive like group hangout, like everybody could just like come in and share their feed. That'd be cool. Facebook, where you at? So this is kind of my rough structure. We got voiceover and a couple of things, opening credit scene. Then we go into a little bit more about Andy, and then we're gonna kind of like bridge. So this is really rough outline. That I do not hold me to this. I don't want to see this live stream come back and be like, oh, you said it was gonna be this way. It's not. Nothing is ever set in stone until the final cut and until we say done. So orders could be changed. Everything could be rearranged. And yeah, so let's just kind of go through these topics. Transients. A lot of people have moved in from out of town to Port Orford because they have heard about the common good. So they heard everything that was good going on there and how people were treating each other with generosity, helping people find homes, helping people get food. So people were actually like moving from bigger cities to Port Orford because, you know, like I said, the generosity, they love the scenery. Some of them, like, city life isn't for everybody. I'm kind of like that as well. I live in the city, but I kind of live on the outskirts of the city. I live in Milwaukee, but it doesn't, it's small enough where it's still like I'm not being bombarded like, New York City. Like New York City is a very hectic city. It's a great city, but could I live there? I don't know. But yeah, a lot of people get out of the city because they just can't keep up with the frantic lifestyle. Susan, the trailer is ready. You can find it at actually our Seed and Spark link is there in the description. Now the first trailer is actually Sandra. Actually, I'll just pop over. Since we're kind of like mid through this, we're like 40 minutes into the stream. Oh man, we're cooking here. So yeah, let's just reset this. So this first trailer here is Sandra talking about her film. She's our director. And if you scroll down just a little bit, this is our main trailer here in the middle section here. You could also go over to the media tab, and there it is right there. Hello, Odd from Chicago, not too far from me. I'm in Milwaukee. Yeah, so hopefully you caught that. We can all get, trailers, yay. Who caught the new Toy Story trailer? I did, and I was so excited. It didn't sound like it right there, but I am. I'm super excited. It was one of my favorite childhood films. So Toy Story 4. I mean, Toy Story 3, I almost nearly cried. But that's neither here or there. So let's get back into it. You're welcome, Susan. So we'll get back into it. Transients, moving out from out of town. Like a lot of people come in there. So there's the common good is actually attached to a church. So they rent the space from the church, and that just kind of allows the food bank to survive. I mean, it was a bit of a, I can't remember exactly. I have to like go back through and look at the history of the common good, but it was a really big deal for them because they had like basically churches also have like schools, like the school slash church slash school thing. So they had this empty half of the building, so they decided to rent it out to the common good. So that's great. So they are able to get to transit. A lot of transients show up at churches looking for help. So this was a good way not only for the common good to succeed with more space, but also gave the church the ability to help these transients immediately. So immediate assistance, which is very important, especially when you're hungry. Okay, so going down in, then we're going to describe Port Orford a little bit, because this isn't just about a food bank. It's about a community, of people that come together to help one another. They're some of our, so far on my research through this process, there's a couple big players. Orca, which I had talked about, which is the distribution center who gets their food from Feeding America and then gets delivered to the common good. And then there's the Rotary Club, which does like pickups from places that are really far away, like 50 miles away. There's actually only one grocery store in town. And as you can imagine, only one grocery store. Nothing against them, but their prices tend to be a little bit higher because they're not a chain like Walmart. And when you're in poverty, your mobility actually declines. So a lot of these people don't have cars, so they can't drive to Walmart because it's 50 miles away. And you can't walk to Walmart because it's 50 miles. Let's get serious. That'd take you all day. And then you'd have to come back. You might as well just stay next to the Walmart at that point. But I don't know. I hope I'm not offending anybody. That'd be bad. But describe Port Orford. So we talked about the industry, a little, maybe we'll touch on a little bit of history. We'll kind of show introduce some of the characters around town. We got Angie's voiceover talks a little bit about that. Industry leaving, volunteers. So we meet a lot of the volunteers. What else we got? Haley and Virginia. So these are kind of like spent a bit of time with them so far. Haley is, I'll just show you. So we're going to go to, let me roll with this. So characters, so I named a folder characters. Then we got Andy, our voiceover, and we follow him quite a bit. And Haley, let's just open her up. Haley was a school teacher. She's actually got a master's degree. And long story short, after the recession hit, she lost her teaching job and has yet to find another one, just because basically she's overqualified for a lot of the open positions. So a lot of teachers, they work on a scale. So based on your qualifications and your education, you work on a scale, so you have to get paid so much. I think I'm saying that right, but so yeah, with her master's degree, she has to get paid a certain amount, but schools can't afford that budget in their budget, so she's like finding it actually really hard to find a job. And she's in a wheelchair, so she has cerebral palsy, which is just like another layer of difficulty for her. So she is one of our main characters. This isn't focused on her disability, but it just kind of like that's her situation. She's got cerebral palsy. She's got a master's degree, but no job because of the lack of jobs. And she just got, in a bad way. So now she kind of like struggled with disability, which is something we may might touch on just how the system works of trying to obtain disability. That, you know, from what I hear, I can't personally speak to that experience, but dealing and speaking with all of our characters here, you know, you really get a sense of how difficult it can be to go through the system. I mean, it took her almost 1.5 years to get any sort of disability assistance, which is just crazy. You know, when you can't work, she can't walk around, so the jobs available to her are actually pretty limited. So, you know, it becomes an issue when you can't pay for rent, you can't pay for food, you can't pay for anything. Yeah, it's just a struggle. So yeah, so she's one of our characters that we follow. She's super nice. I'm actually excited to meet her once we get out to Port Orford. And you know, she's got a really great spirit. Like, she's not letting anything hold her back. She's actually, it's funny in this picture right here. I'll tell you something funny right here. She's in her interview, she had talked about how people would jump the line, essentially. So like, you have to get in line and you get numbers, and that's how their system works of receiving food. And so she's like standing, this guy like tried to, maybe I can scroll back a little bit. Sorry, guy who jumped the line, but you did this to yourself. So we got this woman standing here, and we're just gonna watch. So she got a little timid there. She kind of like held back, and she was jumped in line. And Haley, you know, like I was saying, she's got a really strong spirit. She's very vocal. She actually, let's just watch it. I'm gonna let you guys watch it.
You got his car?
Okay, so basically she told the guy, like, go give the man outside who can't get out of his car a card, because he was there first. And she actually gives, I forget her name here, but she gives her a card. I think actually, oh no, it's right there. So right at the beginning of the scene. She quickly grabs a tag, hands it to her friend, just so that, you know, she doesn't get skipped in line. Because she says it happens all the time. People, like, you know, obviously there to get theirs. Some people are a little bit more compassionate. Some people are a little less. So, yeah. Susan, the Common Good doesn't directly offer medical services, but they are partnered with, I will show you. Gosh, I should have my notes out. I don't know what I was doing. I was just kind of freestyling today. I think I passed through. This is Sarah. This is Orca. Mike Andrews, more Orca. Oof. Haley. More Haley. Oh, there she is. So First Health Food. She's on a phone call. They do partner. Here.
Look at him. I'm Ginger Pearson, a community outreach worker for Coast Community Health Center.
And that's them. Coast Community Health Center. Oh, Brian must be moderating our conversation in here. So, yeah, so they do have some connections. There are community resources, and they service more than just Port Orford. There's a couple counties, surrounding areas, and they're all kind of connected. We actually just learned that a neighboring county, their food bank actually shut down, and they actually had a large elderly population of the recipients. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Not sure what their situation is like, but it's that's unfortunate, especially when we're talking about elderly people. So yeah, concerns, a lot of concerns. But that's part of why we want to go back out. We are going back out. We're going back out at the end of April. And if you follow us, you will get an exclusive behind-the-scenes live look when we're out there. So I'm going to live stream while we're on our some of our shoot days. And anybody who's following Seed and Spark can and will be able to kind of see us behind the scenes doing a little bit more. So like today we're doing this virtual post-production tour, and then on at the end of April when we're out there, we're going to be doing a little bit more production, so maybe a few more interviews, following people around, and you'll be able to see some of that. So we're going to keep that exclusive to our Seed and Spark, though, because we need people to follow us. But yeah, I mean, I could wrap it up here. You guys have any questions about the process? I feel like I've just been rambling on. I almost forgot what we talked about. It's just, yeah, I had like a short structure and I went through it all. Like I have all these bullet points that I was going to talk to you guys about, and I just like went through them in the first 20 minutes, and then I'm just like over here spitballing. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the process, a little bit about what we're doing with, like I said, we probably, I don't know, 200 to 300 hours of footage that we need to cut through. This is all the interviews. So what did I say? 11 hours before. It was 11 hours, and we got it down to 9 hours. And that's only 2 hours cut, and we got to get it down to 90 minutes. 9 hours to 90 minutes, and that's interviews. There's so much other footage to get down, which is why we're running this campaign, because we're just looking for extra funds to help continue this so that we can keep going and get it finished. So I'm going to wrap it up, but you guys we're going to save this video so that can stay online. You guys can watch it back, because I know you guys had so much fun. But keep posting your comments, and I look forward to hearing more from you guys. So follow the link, go to seedandSpark.com/fun/the-common-good. I don't know why they did it that way, but it's just that way. So that's Seed and Spark, not us. But I love you, Seed and Spark. So yeah, but thanks everybody for watching. For those of you who didn't, you really missed out on a great show. But we're saving it because I know you want to see it. So yeah, thanks. Talk to you guys soon.